So, the folks at Epic Games have just announced Unreal Engine 5.6 the preview, and this comes with a couple of interesting features, a lot of bug fixes, and of course a couple of things that we will be taking a look at which has to do with the roadmap of the coming version of Unreal Engine. And for those who like to get this, all you need to do is to go over to unrealengine.com, and right here you will be able to download the Epic Launcher. And once you download Epic Launcher and fire it up, you would also be able to download Unreal Engine 5.6 the preview. Now there's a couple of things that are here that you might want to consider taking a look at. And one of them, which is something I believe a lot of people will be super excited about, is the MetaHuman. So the MetaHuman creator is now part of Unreal Engine 5.6, and we're going to take a look at how you can now work with this right here in Unreal Engine. And to get things started, you need to make sure they have this checked in, and you can also go ahead and turn this on as well. If you like to work with Android, iOS, tvOS, or visionOS, you need to also go ahead and check this too. And once you have them ready, you can click on the apply button, and this is going to initialize and download all of them just in case you didn't download them initially. And once this gets downloaded, you can now hit on the launch button to launch Unreal Engine 5.6 the preview. Now, unlike what we mentioned earlier, when we talked about all of the templates that were supposed to come over to Unreal Engine 5.6, in this release, those templates are not yet here. So hopefully in the final release of Unreal Engine 5.6, we possibly will be seeing those templates and seeing how we can get started with them. Now, for those who are thinking about the templates and all of that stuff, we already made a video where we talked about features of stuff coming to Unreal Engine 5.6. You might want to reference those videos to see some of the cool templates that are supposed to make their way to the next version of Unreal Engine, which supposedly should be Unreal Engine 5.6. So with Unreal Engine 5.6 open up right here, you would notice that the UI looks slightly different. So right over here, you would see that menus have changed. So this is pretty nice. I kind of love it. So right here, you would notice I've got select, move, rotate, and scale. Right here, coordinates exist right over here, which has to do with world and also local. Right over here is where we have all of the snappings. So you want a grid snap, you want a rotational snap, you have that there. And of course, you can turn this on and turn them off simply clicking. Right here, we have the units at which we can snap. So you want to make 1, 10, all of that. You can do that. And of course, you can turn them or turn them off. Right here, we have a big camera option, which deals with perspective and a lot of other things. So you want to create bookmark, cameras, all that, you have them there. You'd also notice that we have our camera movement. The light is here, so we can simply play with anything that has to do with lighting right here. And we can also show or hide stuff by simply using these two. So these are very nice, and I love how simple and of course how standardized this whole thing is. Now you can also switch from a full perspective to a quad layout by simply clicking on this button. And if you like to do a quick render, you can hit that button to do your quick rendering. Now there's a lot of controversies about how this UI is looking, and the cool thing with this is at this point, you can choose to turn this on or turn it off. And to do that, all you need to do is come over to the command line and you can type in the word tool menus viewport. And once you simply type in 0, pressing the enter key, this gives you the previous one. So this is the old one. And of course, if you really love this one, you can simply stick with it. I kind of like the new one. And, I think it's modern. It's, a little bit more straightforward for those coming to Unreal Engine for the first time. Now, another cool thing is if you're battling between the new one and the previous one, simply type in tool menus viewport toolbar 1 and pressing the enter key. And you can have them both. Like, why not? You can definitely have them both, and you can easily transition from the previous one to the new one. And by every means possible, if you just want to work with the new one, you can dial that in, type in the number 2, press the enter key, and there you go. You have yourself the new one, and this looks pretty cool. Now, something else which is also pretty cool is how you get to model with this. So if you simply go over to the modeling section, this now offers you a more traditional approach for modeling. So to experiment that, we can simply go in and drop in a box, click on accept, tap F on the keyboard to frame in that box, and we can simply rotate around that. Now, right here, you would notice that we have vertices, edges, and triangles. And this is for those who like to simply start modeling. So you can simply jump into the component mode really quick and start modeling with this. So if we like to simply control the vertices or simply move vertices of a model piece, we can now do that. So I can have that selected. And we can just move that down if this is what we want. If you like to play with the edges, of course you can. You can simply select the edge and have that selected. And we can simply go in, bring that down. And for those who like to play with the triangles, we can of course go ahead and have that selected. Now, if you want to work with faces, these are considered as polygroups. Now, to get things going, we can either play with the vertex polygroup, the edge polygroup, or the faces. Faces are considered as polygroups here, so we can have that selected. And in case you want to make some insertion, some extrusion, or maybe beveling, you can do that by simply going over to the select section, and we can now do some insertion. So we can make some inserts like so, and of course we can make some extrude like this. So we can have that. We can play with whatever property that we want right here that has to do with the extrusion. We can make it fixed mode and interactive mode. All of that is right here, so you can make all of that changes. And once you're ready, you can hit the accept button, and for the beveling, we can of course go ahead and make those bevels. So in this case, we might increase the distance of the bevel if we want. We can also play with how much subdivision for that bevel that we're going for. If you want this to have a more rounded weight or not, you can have that sorted out right here. And once you're ready, you can click on the accept button to get things going. And this looks pretty neat, especially for those who are trying to get into modeling, or potentially you want to start making your models right here in Unreal Engine. Of course, there's also a couple of other nice, cool stuff that has to do with the form, the whole model stuff, and also some mesh operations that are now easier than ever to work with right here with the new toolbars that exist for Unreal Engine. At the same time, there's a new update to materials, and you can now preview one texture or one simple texture node by simply going over to the node and pressing the playback button, which is technically the preview button. Now, there's a little bit of a bug in between these two, because at this point, once you press the first playback, you actually see it saying preview, but it doesn't reflect here. You have to actually press this again for this preview to be happening. And once you press it again and it says previewing, it's technically no longer previewing. It kind of stopped previewing. So I think this is one of those things to keep in mind. So another thing you would notice, every single time we hover across stuff, is the tooltip, as the tooltip has now been improved. So at this point, if we hold down Option and Command, because we're using a Mac, you notice that we have a nice tooltip right there. If we go over here, hold down Option and Command, you'd also notice that we have a bit of a nicer tooltip overall. So you can actually go across various stuff and see a proper tooltip that explains them better. Back to the materials. If there's any material node you like to preview, all you need to do is just simply hover across them, press the playback button, and you can preview that material. In this case, we can see what the diffuse color map looks like. If we like to see what the LEP looks like, we can press the playback button, see what the LEP looks like. And if we like to just see what everything looks like, we can just simply, click one more time to stop that from previewing. And I guess this might be a bit of a bug and something that they might fix later in the future. There is a bit of an update to the color picker that is now available. So we can go in, mix some stuff up if we want. And if you like to use the eyedropper, you want to toggle with color themes, or maybe you just want to use a spectrum wheel or something like that, you can of course toggle this back and forth and work with that. And so if you do have nodes that you would like to preview, or possibly you would like to just play with, these are some of the options that are now available for materials. More so, if you're working with MetaHuman, there is now a MetaHuman creator which is baked directly into Unreal Engine 5.6, and it is worth exploring. One thing to keep in mind is if you're working with a Mac, this is currently not available. However, if you're working with Windows, you can have access to it. And how this works is pretty simple, as all you need to do is go over to Edit, go over to the plugins, and dial in MetaHuman. And once you do that, make sure you check everything MetaHuman. So from the live link all the way to the runtime, and more especially the MetaHuman creator. So once you have all those checked in, you can now hit the restart button to restart Unreal Engine. And once Unreal Engine restarts, simply confirm that you have all of that enabled, and you can now proceed to start creating MetaHuman right within your content browser. Interestingly, there's a MetaHuman manager, which you'll find if you go over to the Windows section, scroll all the way down to MetaHuman, and you'll be able to manage character editable, character assemblies, character skeletons, character outfit, and also groom. But in this case, let's just explore the brand new MetaHuman creator that is now available with Unreal Engine 5.6. And so once we create a brand new one, we can simply double click and this loads in. And once this loads in, it's interesting what we have. We do have a nice looking user interface that just mimics exactly what you have on the web, and navigating with this is pretty standard. You use the typical Alt left click to orbit, Alt middle click to pan, and Alt right click to zoom in and out. And by default, how you work with MetaHuman is by blending. And in this case, there are some sort of blending options that are available, but at this point there are no characters, or should I say presets, to support it. However, it doesn't stop you from actually working with some stuff, as if you do have your own DNAs, you can simply use the conform tool, import the DNAs and work with them. In terms of the model, you can definitely go in and start making some adjustments to the model. For example, if you like to make adjustments to the teeth, make something that looks pretty cool, you can definitely go ahead and make those alterations. You can do the same for the eyelashes, and you can proceed to sculpt your model how you want. In this case, we're simply going to use the very symmetrical sculpting to get started, and we can break that out by turning off the symmetry to get a bit of an asymmetrical model overall. One thing that you would definitely notice, which the folks at Epic are particular about when it comes to MetaHuman, is how it looks. And so the material has been given a huge update. So you can definitely go ahead and play with the material however you want. If you're into texture indexes, you will definitely find this one super useful, as there's a couple of texture indexes that you can use for both the body and also for the face. The face one is more visible, as you can definitely see those wrinkles. You can go through the indexes and get some cool stuff happening for you. If you like to play with the contrast, the roughness, or maybe the overall strength of the freckles, which is currently available as a preset, you can dial those in. In several instances, you might want to sculpt the body of your model and get exactly what you're going for. And that is something which is super available, as parameters are now available to make you do all of that how you choose and exactly how you want them to be. And so the limitations with what you can get with this, especially when you're creating realistic characters, is pretty small. This now offers a lot of cool features that you can now work with. The only things you're not getting with this particular build are presets, which includes character preset and also clothing presets. Other than that, there are presets for the hair groom and also lighting preset. I believe a lot of people will find the lighting preset pretty cool, as you can use this to tell what the character would possibly be looking like under various lighting conditions. And this is just beautiful the way it is. Now let's talk about one tiny bug that exists with the MetaHuman creator for Unreal Engine 5.6. You see, once you're done creating this, you can choose to either rig the face or not. Now that is totally up to you, as this face is already rigged. However, if you would like to get the combined skeletal mesh, then you might want to just simply give that a try. Of course, this tells you that the character has been rigged already, and if you get that done, you would now be able to create the combined skeletal mesh. Now, before you do that, I would definitely suggest that you do this instead. Go over to the MetaHuman character menu within the MetaHuman creator, and then proceed to export the face skeletal mesh and the body skeletal mesh. The reason is this simple, that if you bring all of this right inside of your Unreal Engine editor, that you will definitely notice a slight change, or should I say a tiny bug with the textures. Now, I don't know if this is something that has a fix, possibly it does within the textures, but once you bring in the combined skeletal mesh, you would notice that the textures are not looking that great. However, if you bring in the head and the body as one piece, things look pretty nice. And this is also a place where you might want to consider taking a look at some of the texture details that are now here with this tool. So you would notice the textures are looking a bit more better, and this is also pretty visible when you try to animate them. And now let's talk about animation for a second, as this is getting a big update, especially with this new release. So if you like to animate this, first things you need to do is to create a sequencer, and within the sequencer you can simply drag and drop the body and the face from the outliner into the sequencer. Now, once you drop in the face, automatically there's going to be a rig which you can use to control the facial deformation of your model. Now, if you like to animate the body, you can do that super easily by simply going over to the MetaHuman character body, clicking on the plus sign, going over to the control rig, scrolling all the way down to where you have the MetaHuman control rig. And with that, you should be able to have the control rig, which you can use to control the character's behavior, which can be animated right inside of the sequencer. And speaking about the sequencer and also animation, you would notice within the animation node that we have a new set of menus that are available. And amongst those menus, we have something that has to do with motion trail. And this simply means that you can now show motion trail on selections once you start animating. And this is going to be super useful for those who like to troubleshoot their character animation and see certain things that are going on with it. Of course, there are more stuff that you can do with this in terms of customization, which includes increasing the size, changing the color, and also different trail styles that exist. Something which is also super impressive to see is the nice looking bouquet that now appears when you're working with the focus. So in this case, you can simply go ahead, create nice looking focus with this and get some nice looking results right inside of Epic Games Unreal Engine. And for those who like to, go ahead and explore working with layers, working with stuff like that, all of these are super possible, and you can now kickstart your nice looking animations and create amazing looking pieces. Now for animation, there is also a nice looking animation feature which is coming to Unreal Engine as well. And this is called the Locomoto, and it's a plugin which simply provides a new control mode for, procedural looking locomotions, especially for bipedal or even quadrupeds, as this simply takes the target point of a simple input and then it uses certain features to just transform the feet of the character, which essentially animates that character over time. And that is one nice cool feature which is currently available with Unreal Engine 5.6, and it is worth exploring. Now for those who would like to see more features about Unreal Engine 5.6, the State of Unreal 2025 is slated to happen on the 3rd of June 2025 in Orlando, Florida. And for those who like to add this to the calendar, or probably you like to stay tuned, you can simply come through so that you can catch up with all of the big updates and news that will be happening with Unreal Engine at the time. Furthermore, if we go over to the roadmap, you would notice that we've got lots of things coming over to Unreal Engine 5.6, and this is happening across various sectors, from rendering all the way down to modeling. And within the rendering section, the Lumen hardware ray tracing optimization seems to be something that is coming. There's also updates to the rendering hardware interfaces that deals with rendering parallelization and bindless resources. We've also got Niagara heterogeneous volumes, virtual shadow map optimization, substrate materials, depth of field, GPU Profiler 2.0, and the first-person rendering as well. And for animation, the sequencer organization seems to be coming. We've got some seamless gameplay transition cinematics, and this is going to be huge for animators. And we've also got some nice looking stuff that deals with both gameplay, tweening, retargeting operation stack, and the relative time scaling for sequencer. Now for retargeting, there's some cool stuff coming to that. As we simply scroll all the way down here, you'll notice that scaled proportion retargeting is definitely going to be looking super useful when this comes in, and this is going to be good for those who are into working with motions, animations, motion capture stuff. This is going to be super cool. And if you want more resources about that, we've made a couple of videos. I'm going to put some links in the description that can definitely guide you through that. And for those that are into control rig, there's also the control rig physics, which is currently in experimental. The sculpt morph shape is definitely something that we should also take a look at in our subsequent videos. And you'll definitely find more stuff that has to do with animation right here. For world building, there's some cool stuff. Procedural content generation has some cool stuff happening for it. We've also got some nice looking stuff right here within the developers iteration. And for those that are into audio, or possibly you're into platform or motion design, we do have some nice stuff right here. As cloners and effectors are getting a huge update, Photoshop layer import is also having a nice looking update. We've also got some content pipeline that's also having some nice looking improvements right here, and this includes the FBX, the interchange workflow improvements, and of course USD is having some stuff. So lots of things are coming over to Unreal Engine, and of course if you'd like to download these and test it out, yes you can. And speaking about things that you might want to test out, there are some bugs and also some fixes. So there are certain issues for Unreal Engine 5.6 that have been fixed. You can definitely come through, check these ones out. And of course, they have some unresolved ones. Definitely, there are more fixes that has been done for Unreal Engine 5.6 and 5.6.0, as opposed to the fixes that are yet to be done. And, some things are yet to be resolved. But either ways, Unreal Engine 5.6 is looking pretty stable, and lots of things are coming to it, especially for those who like creating content and working with this engine. And speaking about artists or creators that love working with Unreal Engine and creating stuff, if you're into world building, then the world building asset bundle from the Fuxi Humble Bundle is right here. And this comes with a good number of 3D assets and also materials. So if this is something that you would love to work with, you can definitely come through and see some of these things for yourself. Check them out, see what you can get out of them, and start working with them. This is from the folks at Scan Matters, and you'll be getting over 150 commercial credits alongside with this stuff too. So if you want to see any of these ones, maybe you like any of those assets right here, you can come through and check them out at Humble Bundle. All of this is going for about £2,987.34, but you'll be getting all of them for £31, or should I say £26 depending on how much you would like to donate to Humble Bundle. As part of that donation goes to the Wildlife Fund. So all of these are right here and you can come through and grab them. And if you're looking for even more stuff, then you might want to consider taking a look at the Supreme, Unreal and Unity game development bundle that has a ton of things. And this one is pretty wild because it's got tons of assets and content, you know, whether you're looking for effects, environment stuff, simple assets, or maybe you just want to get some cool things you can bash together and make nice looking real worlds, you can definitely find these ones right here. And these are 50 interesting bundle items and you can work with these ones alongside Unity and Unreal Engine. By default, this is definitely going to set you back about £2,044.01, but you'll be getting this for 28.21 or 23.21. So all of these are right here, and there's even more stuff right here on Humble Bundle. For those who are into Blender and possibly you like to learn a ton of things, there are some cool stuff right here. And of course, if you just want to get started with Unreal Engine, maybe you're coming from Blender, you want to learn some stuff, they've got some courses right here that can definitely get you going, and they've got some nice courses here as well. For those working with Godot, there's a brand new one for those who like to just get started with learning Godot, and this is for the 2025 bundle. So just in case you like to learn Godot, we've got some cool stuff right here. There's also some nice stuff for those who are into design. So if you're into design and maybe you want to pick up some ideas, some lessons, you want to get started with some cool stuff, then you'll definitely find some of these cool ones here. You can learn to make some effect, After Effects, and you know, make some comic book stuff, and you can also learn some cool stuff with Cinema 4D too. So nice looking stuff right here from Humble Bundle, and all of this is just to help you create stuff faster while paying a fraction of the cost of any of these things by default. So this is it for those who like to take a look at all of these and potentially you like to check them out, or maybe you want to get started with Epic Games Unreal Engine and check out some of the cool features coming to it. Then links to all of this is going to be in the description, so do well to check them out. Tell me what you guys think about this one in the comment section. And of course, if you like this video or you like something from this, you can go ahead and give a like, and don't forget to share with a friend. And until I see you guys in the next one, peace.